Our first presentation today is from Nick Wolfe, Chief Business Officer for Suda Limited. Nick's an accomplished business executive, bringing 2 decades of biotechnology and pharmaceutical industry experience to Suda when he joined them in 2013. He's got a strong track record in structuring, negotiating, and executing successful alliances, licensing agreements, and M&A transactions, as well as providing business development, management, and strategic leadership to organizations. So please join me in welcoming Nick Wolfe.
Thanks, Andrew. I'm just playing with my phone because I've been under strict orders to keep my talk to 15 minutes, so I'll start the timer now.
10 minutes.
10 minutes now? Okay. It's 5 minutes of questions.
Yeah.
So thanks very much to Oz Biotech. It's a pleasure to be here. Our CEO is also in the room, Steve Carter, who's kindly delegated this talk to me today. We've had an opportunity over the course of today to have face-to-face meetings with some of you. So this will be the second time you've heard the story. So Suda, we're a Perth-based company. We are a drug delivery company focused on reformulating drugs. So we unlike many traditional drug development companies which are going for novel molecules, we're going for existing drugs which are already on the market and trying to improve them with a new drug delivery approach. And our technology is around oral sprays. I've got one in my pocket. It's a simple spray like this. This happens to be our malaria one. We have one for erectile dysfunction, which I won't spray in this room. But this, I'm not sure whether you can see that, but it's a very fine plume which coats the lining of the mouth, providing a rapid route to absorption into the blood system. We have a world-leading platform, which I'll talk about in a moment. We have formulated over 300 APIs, active pharmaceutical ingredients, into oral sprays. So we really are the market leader in this space, and these drugs all have an opportunity to come to market potentially. Our lead drug is in the field of malaria, which is this one. It's for treating children with malaria. And we have a number of drugs which have gone through clinical proof of concept or even further, including drugs for treating migraines, so pain associated with migraine headache, for treating erectile dysfunction, and for treating nausea associated with chemotherapy. We don't have to go through the same steps for getting these drugs to market. The great benefit of reformulating drugs is that you can leverage all the data that exists for the tablet or the other form of administration, other formulations that are on the market. And our strategy is not to take these products all the way through to registration and commercialization, but to partner once we've demonstrated the value of the product, once we have what's called proof of concept in man. So we'll do small clinical trials and let a large pharmaceutical company or specialty pharmaceutical company take the product through to commercialization. Why go through the mouth? Well, this is the only science slide, by the way. It's a highly vascularized, means there's a lot of blood vessels in the lining of the mouth, and that's the tongue, the cheeks, the gums, or the palate. Hence, you get a very rapid absorption into the blood system. One of the obvious advantages is that you're avoiding, with tablets, going through the stomach and the gut. It's metabolized by the acids in the stomach. It's metabolized by enzymes in the liver. We avoid that. We also, because of the quick absorption, can get faster onset of action. Obviously important for things like pain. We can reduce the dose variability, reduce the amount of active drug that's required as well. And there's a large population of patients, including adults and pediatrics, where swallowing is an issue, and this avoids the need to swallow. So this just shows the relative efficiency of getting drugs into systemic circulation. And if you look on the left-hand side, if you stick a needle in your vein, you're going to get all of the drug in your blood system. But if you take a tablet or even an encapsulated product and swallow it, you're potentially losing over 70% of the drug through metabolism. And what we're targeting is this area here, so upwards of 90% efficiency in getting the drug into the blood. So we have a technology trademarked Auromist. It's a lot of science that goes into putting things into an oral solution. A lot of the drugs we work with, as soon as they touch water, they degrade. So our technology is around how do you solubilize it, how do you stabilize it, how do you promote that permeation through the membrane of the mouth, and also how do you make it pleasant for patients. So we put in taste masking and flavorings. We use a lot of mint, we use honey, we use We've got a strawberry flavoured version for children, for one of our drugs, for example. And this solution is just one half of it. The other half is, of course, the device itself. Now, this is a relatively simple device. This is the one we'll be marketing in malaria endemic countries. It's a simple spray with a glass vial. We've got experience with different pump systems, be them air activated or aerosol with glass or plastics. The FDA for our erectile dysfunction products has asked us to make it child-proof, so we've got a child-proof lock on it. We also, for controlled substances, we can put a lockout device on it, for example. So there's a lot of science and art that goes into making sure the device is right for the product and the patient population. So here's the pipeline. At the top is our malaria product, which finished the development work. We're now looking to get that accepted by the WHO. I'll talk to that in the next slide. And below that are our three clinical stage products, which are the migraine treatment, the chemo-induced nausea and vomiting, and erectile dysfunction. And for all of these, onset of action, avoiding the need to swallow, and patient convenience are the advantages that we offer versus the current tablet formulations. And in each case, I might add, these drugs are off patent, and they are the biggest selling product in their respective fields. So large volume prescriptions are written for each of these products. They're all multi-billion-dollar markets in the main. So moving straight into Artemis. So this is it's sprayed under the tongue for children that have malaria. We ran a head-to-head phase 3 study. It's been in development now for several years. We ran a head-to-head phase 3 study, and the final study report came out at the end of last year. We're getting it published in a peer-reviewed journal. We're presenting it at the American Society of Tropical Medicine and Hygiene in November. And this trial was a complete success. We were able to show in 150 patients across multiple sites in Africa that Artemis was superior to the standard of care, which is intravenous quinine. So a simple spray under the tongue, a few doses over 60 hours, was more effective. And the standard endpoint in these trials is looking at the reduction in parasite count. Malaria is a parasite. And you can see here the figures. After 24 hours, we had 96% of our patients had a 90% or greater reduction in their parasite count, versus only 41% who took the standard of care quinine. And then the time to total parasite clearance, 30 hours was the average for our group versus 68 hours with quinine, all with very high statistical significance. So since that final study report came out last year, we've been engaged with the World Health Organization and their operational arm called the Medicines for Malaria Venture, as well as talking to philanthropic groups like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, in terms of how can we accelerate the adoption of our drug into standard treatment guidelines, so that this drug will be available for the large-scale procurement tenders of anti-malarials. And it's not an easy process, but we are well down that path. It's quite a political group. We've put in place a clinical advisory board, which includes the chair of the policy committee that recommends the treatment guidelines to the WHO. And we've had multiple dialogues with the group, so we think we're well placed now to see Artemis reach patients in the not too distant future. Coupled with that, the WHO through their MMV group, plus the Gates Foundation and others, are interested in expanding the use of this drug, so that it's not just used in a hospital setting, but it's used at the earliest opportunity when kids first develop a fever, be them either in a rural setting or in cities. It can often be many hours before they get treatment in a hospital. If we can get them a single dose of this, we've shown that within a few hours you can reduce the parasite count by 50%, and that will prevent the disease, which very rapidly progresses to a severe form, which can lead to permanent cerebral damage. So there's almost a million deaths a year from malaria, childhood malaria. So it's a very significant unmet need. We're talking to prospective partners, and these are the very largest pharmaceutical companies who have a philanthropic interest in targeting these neglected diseases. We've got a number of companies now that are in late-stage negotiations with us. And when I talk about our guidance, you can see that we're looking over the next few months to close a deal on this product. So moving quickly on to talk about our migraine treatment. So that's sumatriptan, world's leading drug for treating migraine headache. We've demonstrated that we get a quicker onset of action as well as needing less drug to have a therapeutic effect, to have the same therapeutic effect as the gold standard tablet. We've done primary market research to show there's a real need. Patients that have sudden onset migraines, tablets don't work. Nasal sprays work, but they're unpleasant to take. So prescribers see a real opportunity, the neurologists who we've talked to, plus the payers, really like this product. The same goes for our chemo-induced nausea product. Patients don't like swallowing tablets. We offer them an alternative, which is a simple mint spray. Now, this is the one that I know a lot of brokers are interested in. It's our oral spray for erectile dysfunction. Again, we've shown we get quicker onset, and we need less of the drug to have the same therapeutic effect. We've got a mint vanilla flavor, which we're taking through proof of concept studies, and we've got a lot of pharmaceutical interest, particularly Pfizer, as you might imagine, which is the innovator on Viagra. Lastly, I want to mention West Coast, which is a subsidiary non-core activity that we own in the medical supplies area. It's been growing very strongly. It supplies hospitals, mine sites, aged care facilities, detention centres. We showed 100% growth in revenue in FY14. We've shown it's got a net margin over 10%. We've got a new product range which is improving the margin, including a wound healing gauze, Hemostite, of which we're the exclusive distributor here in Australia and also New Zealand, which dissolves away. So you don't need to peel it off once the wound is clotted. Instead of having to peel it off and risk opening it again, you just dissolve it in water. Our numbers are here. Our market cap today is a little over $50 million. We had a net loss last year of $2 million. We've got over $5 million in the bank at the end of June, sufficient for us to reach some key milestones over the next few months and into 2015 as well. This is a table that we first put up a year ago, saying that we wanted to get all these milestones within calendar 2014, and we're tracking nicely towards what will be some significant value inflection points in terms of deals on both our anti-malarial and at least one of our clinical mainstream therapies. So in summary, we have a world-leading technology for reformulating drugs into oral sprays. The anti-malarial product is very close to market and addresses a real unmet need, getting significant interest from the pharmaceutical industry. And as we've talked about, the pipeline that we have, each product has advantages over the current mainstream therapies, and hence we think it has a real role to play in the market. We're targeting rapid revenue growth through our model of partnering following proof of concepts, and our first deals are coming up soon. So thank you for your attention. I may have overrun a few minutes.